All right, I got it. Okay. Good morning, everybody. We are really excited about getting into conference play this week. For us, this is our next goal to win the division, and I think this is 7 years in a row we've opened up conference play on the road. I'm not sure how we got so lucky with that, but it is what it is. But so it's a challenge, and so to win the division, you've got to be able to win on the road. And you get 8 conference games. You get no mulligans, man. They all count. They all matter. They're all huge. And then you throw in the fact that it's Clemson, Georgia Tech, and one of the better rivalries in this conference, in my opinion. So just a lot at stake on Saturday. And first quarter of our season is over. I think we've learned a lot. I think that we still got a lot of improving to do, and I think we got an eager bunch to do just that, coaches and players, to get better, man. And we're excited about kicking off the second quarter and the challenge that's coming our way Saturday in Atlanta, a place that we really haven't had a ton of success, but this senior class has got a unique opportunity, and they take a lot of pride in their legacy here, and I know that we'll get a tremendous effort from our guys to hopefully play our best game. That's really what our goal is this week, is to apply the lessons that we've learned from the first 3 games. That's what wisdom is, right? It's the application of knowledge. So let's take the knowledge that we've gained from 3 games and let's play with some wisdom. Let's apply it on game day, and let's get better, and let's kick off the second quarter in a really positive way, and by playing our very best football game of the season. That's really what I'm looking for. So I think we're off to a good start. Good meetings around here Sunday and Monday as coaches, and then last night on the field with the guys. I think that they're locked in. They're excited about getting into conference play as well. And, it's amazing how the days just start clicking. And here we are into game 4, second quarter. So trying to enjoy all of the journey, too, as we go through it. Georgia Tech is a good football team. I know they're 1-2. And a lot of times that's where people make a mistake, is they just kind of look on a piece of paper and they see a record and they go, okay, well, and it just doesn't work that way. There are no easy outs, and Georgia Tech is one of the most difficult teams that you will play. And we know that because we play them every year, and it is always an incredibly stressful week to play these guys. They do a great job. South Florida's a good football team. And there were some crazy plays in that game. It was kind of back and forth. It was I guess it was less than a 1-score game till right at the end, and they scored late to put it up. I mean, it was that game could have gone to either team. Both teams played incredibly hard, and then same thing at Pitt. 24-19, I think, was the score. 1-score game. They're right there in position to win the game. They had some mishaps. They had a fake punt that didn't go their way, and ended up getting beat on the road. So they've had two tough losses on the road, but their team has played incredibly hard. And now they're back at home, and they're getting an opportunity to, play Clemson. And so we know that we've got a huge task in front of us this week. Paul does, like I said, as good a job as anybody in getting his guys ready to play. And defensively, they got a new defensive coordinator who came from App. He does a good job. They've got a good scheme, and offensively, they've played 2 quarterbacks, and both of them are dangerous. I mean, both those guys can flat out run and find the creases. They're throwing the ball, I think, about 17 times a game. And they've hit some huge plays, massive plays, which typically when they complete one, that's usually what happens. It's usually a big time chunk type play. So that'll be the challenge for us. It's always a challenge defensively to be disciplined. And we did a pretty good job last week. We had a couple times where we didn't have our eyes on the right things, and guys got behind us. And you can't get bored doing your job when you maybe don't have a lot of action on the back end. You've got to stay locked in, and then obviously winning up front, staying on our feet, and taking on the cut blocks and not letting guys get to the second level, having great pursuit. Because when you do, that's where a lot of the big plays come from. Is you'll do a good job on the front side of a play, but you maybe got cut on the backside, or you're not quite pursuing like you need to, and then boom, here goes that quarterback cutting up in a crease for 30 yards on you, and maybe it would have been a 10-yard gain. So there's just a lot of things that we've got to do a great job of to give ourselves a chance, and then offensively for us, getting back to the first couple games and taking care of the football. So we all know what happened last week. Trevor jinxed us, but what I'm hoping you'll say this week is that, Georgia Tech's doing a great job of taking care of that ball. It's amazing what they're doing, and maybe we'll have some reverse psychology or something. But no, seriously, just got to take care of the ball. I mean, we do a good job with that and win the margin. We might have a turnover somewhere, but let's win the margin. Because when we do, good things usually happen for us. But there's a lot of positives going on right now, and a lot to build on as we get into this next phase of our journey here, conference play.
Coach, how did Kelly look at practice yesterday?
He's good.
Yeah, but you remember, was it really soon after you took over that you decided prep for Georgia Tech's flex fund was going to be a year-round thing?
Yeah. My first year. Well, y'all know my first week. I've never been around a triple option in my life, not a day in my life. I grew up in the I formation, and it's what I played in. It's what I started my coaching career in. I could coach it today. It's ingrained in me. And then kind of got into the spread stuff in '98. We started doing some of that stuff, and then when I came to Clemson, we were four wides, no tight end half the time, and throwing it every snap. So I've kind of been across the board, but I'd never been around triple option. And then, I get the job on a Monday, and oh, by the way, we're playing a triple option team on Saturday, and it's Paul Johnson's first year. Nobody knows anything about it. So it was, I learned. And then we go, my first full year, we win the division, and we play in the championship down there at Tampa. And, Spiller got the MVP of the game, and we lost. We couldn't stop them. They couldn't stop us. Nobody punted in the game. And they went 86 yards for the game-winning drive. I think they went about three or four fourth down conversions on us. And, I learned real quick, if we're going to have a chance, we're going to have to make this a part of what we do around here. And so we do. I mean, we if you don't, you're going to be behind the eight ball. And we just want to always, we need to always be able to have a recall, and just keep option football in front of them as far as the things that they're going to see when you play a team. Because we play them every year. It's a huge game for us. It's a rival game. So we get ready for all of our opponents every year, but they're very unique. And so some of your base things don't really apply. You kind of got to forget everything from a defensive standpoint. So, we started a long time ago. Let's have a Georgia Tech period in the spring, Georgia Tech period during fall camp, and just enough to just kind of teach the principles that we need and some of the fundamentals that you have to play with to have a chance. And so, we certainly have gotten better over the years, for sure.
Well, how does it grab that you've played three option teams right off the bat here early in the season? How much has those two previous experiences maybe helped for Georgia Tech this week?
Well, I think it helps, definitely. I mean, it'd be crazy to tell you that doesn't help because you've had to spend a lot of practice time defending, even though they're different. I will say that. Everybody thinks option teams are all the same, and it's like a one-stop shop, and it's not. Furman and Georgia Southern and Georgia Tech are very different. I mean, it's all ice cream, but it's strawberry and chocolate and vanilla, and I mean, it's different flavors of how they go about it, and so that's a challenge. And then Georgia Tech it's the ACC football team. I mean, they got some really talented players that are playing at a high level. So, and then Paul Johnson's as good as it gets. I mean, he's as good as it gets when it comes to having answers for what you do. So I think it helps fundamentally, and just how you have to play, the physicality you have to play, the mindset that you have to have. But it also helps them, because you think about it, usually when they play us every year, they don't have anybody to study us on but themselves, right? So it works both ways, because now they've got 2 games to study Clemson on how we defended certain things. So it's a double-edged sword that way.
You mentioned you guys have gotten better, it seems like, lately against Georgia Tech. What do you think is the biggest reason why you guys have shut them down or had so much success the last few years?
You know, the games are always tough. I wouldn't say we've shut them down. I mean, they've hit some big plays on us, and I just think that, you know, like I said, we've just been better that day. I mean, I've had really good teams that have lost. And I've had some teams that maybe weren't as good as some of the teams that lost win. But we just been better that day. We've done the things that we needed to do on that particular day to win the game, whether it be turnover margin, penalties, out big playing them, being fundamentally sound, physical at the line of scrimmage. Those are the type of things that you got to do if you're going to have a chance to win this game.
Talk about how odd is it to face 2 defensive coordinators in consecutive weeks that came from App State, and what do you know of Nate Woody and his defense?
Yeah, well, it's I guess unique, and they're similar. They're obviously coming from the same tree and background, so they do some similar things. Studying them on tape, there's from what we saw last week, but there's also some differences too. So I think they both kind of have their own personalities on what they're doing with their personnel, because personnel dictates a lot of stuff. So you know, you can't just plop a scheme in there and say, okay, this one size fits all. It doesn't work that way. You know, you've got to take your personnel and try to fit it within your scheme and make some adjustments to give yourself a chance to be successful. So there are a lot of similarities, you know, from a philosophy standpoint, but they have different people, different personnel, and so there's some differences as far as how they do things, whether it be third down, whether it be their pressure packages, you know, some of that type of stuff, some of the things they're doing coverage-wise, but similar for sure. And I don't know what the last part. Did you ask me another question?
About Nate Woody himself, have you guys?
Yeah, I don't really know Nate. I may have met him somewhere along the way. App's been down here a few times, but I don't really know him.
Do you think that Paul Johnson maybe doesn't get enough credit or is undervalued as a coach, considering that's not a sexy system to recruit to? He's never high in the recruiting rankings, but always puts out a competitive program that has won ACC championships.
Yeah, I think Paul Johnson's a great football coach. I mean, he's been doing it a long time. He's won a bunch of games. And so I don't think he's really worried about all that. I think he's just worried about, you know, trying to win this game this week and get better at what they're doing. But he's been successful because he's been incredibly committed to what he does, and his career speaks for itself. He really doesn't owe anybody any apologies or explanation. He's one of the winningest coaches that has come through. And again, and he's done it. Yes, he's been unique, but he's been incredibly successful doing it his way.
Is he unique that he also doesn't use a play sheet, like he just does it off the top of his head?
Well, it's because he don't need a play sheet. All he needs is answers. You know, who's tackling the fullback, who's running the alley, who's supporting the edge, what are they doing on the back end, you know, who's tackling my quarterback. And then he's just got answers. And when you've done it as long as him, I mean, he just knows it inside and out. And that's one of the reasons he's been so successful. And so few people do it. You know, if you aren't really schooled up on it, he's going to get you. He's going to get you sooner or later. And if you only got one pitch, he's definitely going to get you. You've got to mix it up on him. You can't just you do the same thing over and over, you're in trouble, because he's seen it all. He's seen it all.
Coach, you mentioned that these are flavors of ice cream, but what specifically makes Georgia Tech unique from other, I guess, option offenses?
Yeah, well, some of the formation stuff that they do, like for example, Georgia Southern they don't really cut a lot. They're really more split zone, zone read, option principles that way, more double teams, as opposed Georgia Tech will cut you. All right, different, a little bit different schematically as far as how they block. Formations are different, so just a little more unique in his style of play, and that makes him different.
And I guess going off the cut blocking, how as a defensive lineman, I guess, how can you counteract that?
You got to, well, it's something that you don't see all the time, then you better make sure you've worked on it a lot. But you gotta play with your hands. You got to understand formations. You got to understand splits. You got to understand, how to play with your pads, and use your hands to defeat the blocks. So that just comes with some experience and just training your guys to go against it. It's one of the reasons, like I said, we work it all the time because it's different. It's different, as opposed to seeing teams that are zone teams and you're trying to create distortion in the run lanes and covering guys up and, guys are moving and backs are pressing and creasing. It's different than when it's just trying to chop people down and get the ball on the perimeter right now. So just different techniques and different fundamentals. But number one, you got to have your eyes on the right things. Like I said, understand splits and formations, and then you got to do a great job playing with your hands, man. And you've got to have a mindset that's different when you play a team like this.
Did you like the NCAA's more restrictive rules on cut blocking?
Yeah, I think it's safer for the game. I mean, there's really, I think some things have changed, but they're still cutting in the box. And I think that's fine. The biggest things that they took out were the things that needed to be taken out, and that was people cutting downfield, people cutting on kind of starting in the box and coming around and cutting, and then receivers, and I used to coach that all the time. I mean, that was an equalizer as a receiver. So you got a guy that's blowing down on you 100 miles an hour, and he knows you can't cut him. That's a tough deal. But when he knows that you can cut him, it's a little bit of an equalizer for you. So kind of everybody had to play a little more under control. But now you can't cut past 5 yards. Used to, you'd see guys cutting down the field and things like that. So I think it's definitely made the game safer.
Coach Dorian O'Daniel always played so well against this Tech offense the last couple of years. You feel like Isaiah Simmons really has the toolkit to be able to step up in that void?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, that's why he's our starter. I mean, he's got the toolkit to play in any style of play. I mean, he's a very dynamic guy. He's long. I thought last week he got better. I didn't think he played very well against A&M. But last week I thought he got better and he got back to some basic things. He's physical. He really played physical. He brings a lot of the same attributes as Dorian. He's just longer, bigger, and probably a better cover guy when it's all said and done. When he really kind of gets a little more polished up. But I'm really proud of him. And but he can do whatever we need him to do. He's very dynamic. He can go play safety. He could play either one, free, strong. He's a unique player in that regard.
From the standpoint of your offense, do you worry on one end of the spectrum or the other about time possession in a game like this with their offensive approach?
Well, I mean, if you turn it over, it could be a problem. I think that's the formula for disaster. Is the name of the game is points. To me, I don't really get too caught up in the time of possession stuff. Back in the day, I did. That was one of the first things you did back when I was playing. You looked over and said, okay, who won the time of possession battle? It's one of the things, well, if we can win that time of possession battle and we win the turnover, I don't really pay attention to that anymore. But when you play a team like Georgia Tech, a recipe for disaster is when, like last week, when you're eating clock and putting drives together and then you get nothing, you turn it over in the red zone, You do stuff like that, and you're in trouble because the clock's gonna run. They're gonna milk the clock, and if you give them a short field or two, and not make them have to go the distance and get chunks, you get beat. And I've seen that movie. I've lived it. You better take advantage of your opportunities. And again, whether you put a 15-play drive together and you take a bunch of time, or you score in 3 plays, I don't really care. Just take advantage of your opportunities when they present themselves against a team like this. Whether it's a field goal, a touchdown, and you get a scoring opportunity, you've got to take advantage of those. Because when you don't, that's just beautiful for them because the clock has run and you've got nothing for it. So we all seen that around here. I mean, not necessarily just against Georgia Tech. I mean, I can't remember who it was. I can't remember who it was. I don't know if it was either Pitt or NC State. I can't remember. We had like 5 turnovers, and I think 3 of them were inside the 5-yard line. Literally, like inside the 10-yard line or something like that. You got 0, and you got a bunch of yards, but you got nothing, and then all of a sudden you get beat. It's every week, but when you're playing that style of play, and you may not get many at-bats, you have to take advantage of your scoring opportunities.
When you look
Coach, you mentioned in the
Go ahead.
Ladies first.
When you look at the version of Travis Etienne last year, week 2 wasn't really even ready to play against Auburn, and where he is now, just how far has he come, and how has he done it?
Oh man, he's done it by, first of all, just being incredibly committed, and he's obviously very talented. He had a very good year last year. He was a pretty green football player, but now he's just more knowledgeable. He's more confident. He's more physical. He's bigger, stronger, faster. He's just all of those things, and he's got the experience to go with it. So really proud of him. I mean, he's over 1,000 yards, and I think it's like 7. He's the all-time yards per carry guy. And, I mean, we've had some good backs come through here. And he's just, he just kind of quietly does it. Like last year, I think he broke Spiller's freshman record. Spiller was a pretty good freshman around here. And I think back when Spiller was here, and it was like, oh, my God. I mean, he's one of the best football players I've ever seen on a field ever, even to this day. But he was kind of loud in how he did it, He wasn't loud but he just was loud in how he did it on the field. I don't know. Maybe it was just different at the time, but whereas Travis is, you just look up and you go, well, dang. He's over 1,000 yards and averaged 7.9 a carry. He's been here a year. And you're like, man, he's just, I don't know, he's just a little, it just sneaks up on you. I don't know how else to describe it, but he's special. He's a special talent, and he's earned it. I mean, that's some pretty gaudy numbers, what he's done in however many games he's played in. And I don't think he's going to get worse. I think he's going to continue to improve and get better. And we're really fortunate to have the guys we have. You look at some of these better teams out there, and they got 2 and 3 backs that they're playing and rolling in there, and somebody gets the hot hand. Travis is a guy that if he touches it enough, something good's going to happen. So I'm really proud of him, and I think that coming out of the first quarter, I really like where he is right now. And I think he's going to have a tremendous year for us.
Coach, you mentioned in the beginning of the press conference about applying the lessons learned. Just what have you learned about your team through the first quarter of the season?
Well, I've learned that they care. This is a team that cares. This is a team that wants to be great. This is a team that takes coaching. And, they've accepted the challenge. We've got to be a little more detail-oriented in certain areas. I think that I've seen a team that's got the leadership that it takes. Just some very committed guys, man. Some very committed guys. And even though we're 3-0, You know, nobody's in here singing Kumbaya. You know, we celebrate the win. We're excited about that. But, man, we all watch the tape, and we all know that we can get better and that we will get better, and we need to get better in certain areas. And not major things, just the little things. I think that's the other thing our guys have bought into. Little things lead to big things. It's not the other way around. You don't all of a sudden start doing big things, and then you're like, all right, well, then that leads to the little things. It's the exact opposite. It's the little things, you know, that lead to big things. And we've tried to really point that out and demonstrate that and get guys to take ownership of that. And so I think we're heading in the right direction. I really do. I've learned that we've got a lot of depth on this team. I thought that coming in, but I need some video evidence. I need to see it happen on the field, and I've seen it. I mean, we're very confident in the depth of our team and the guys that can go in and play winning football for us. And I've confirmed that we got quarterbacks that can play in any situation, that can win for us. So there's been a lot of positives. I've learned that we've got a kicker that can kick it out of the end zone pretty consistently, and I'm excited about that. So there's a lot of good things. I've learned a lot about our freshmen, some of these freshman guys that you think you know, but you need to really kind of see it, and I've learned a lot about them. But we're heading in a good spot.
Dabo, not just here, but elsewhere in college football, do you think the move to more RPO offenses means fewer shifts, fewer jet motion type plays, I guess, so you can get a look at what you're seeing as a
No, not necessarily. No, I think the RPO stuff's just more a reflection of shotgun. How you gonna have play action? When you're under center, it's hard to run RPOs when you're running play action. You know what I'm saying? And have your eyes on the things that it's just a more reflection of being in the shotgun. And then those zone read principles where you're reading, whether it's first level, second level, third level. It's harder to do that when you're under center. I don't think the motion has anything to do with it. I mean, motion you can use it to your advantage, or if you feel like that you don't need it that particular week or whatever, you may not see as much of it. But it's just the RPO stuff is just a evolution of zone read, and defense is getting good, and offense is having to make some adjustments. It's play action. That's all it is. I mean, it's just old-fashioned, back in the day, 144 and 145, sprint draw, eye backs, turn, here we go, suck them all up in. Then you get your eyes downfield and you throw the play action passes. Create space with that. Now you're not under center. So your run game, you try to marry things off your run game. Any good football team that wants to try to run the ball, you have to protect your runs with your play action game. Whether it's a guard pulling, or it's off your zone. Maybe you're a zone team and a zone read team. So now you're going to have some things built in, some bait routes, some third level reads where you're keying safeties. When you give the same presentation of the zone read, but you're really keying a safety, and things just happen. The offensive line don't know. They just think you're running the ball. But you have to have a way to teach them through code words or whatever it may be, so that they know that they can't be downfield, because that's a big emphasis. And so that's where all that's coming from. But motion can help you. It can hurt you too. It just depends on who you're playing and what their style is.
We hear less of that pre-snap eye candy in this offense than maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
I don't know. I don't know. I hadn't really thought about it. I just know we've been pretty good.
We hear the term RPO thrown around a lot, and I'm sure you hear it too, watching,
Yep.
film, things like that. How much, do you have a gauge of how much stuff is, like you're talking about, it looks like a read, but you really have a specific call? Like, how much of what you do is actual RPO, and how much stuff is designed to look like it?
It's, we try to marry as many things as we possibly can, but a lot of the stuff is not really called. I mean, as an RPO, it's just your run game, and there's just things that are built into the run game that just happen. That's the quarterback managing the game. You know, you might get something on the edge, and that's just like a toss sweep without having a toss sweep. But it's got to be at the right times, and you know, like, and the guys got to block properly and et cetera. But you're trying to strain the guys, but horizontally, all your vertical stuff's built in too. So and then you have that's your base call stuff. But then you have RPOs, true RPOs, where you're going to run the ball, but it's going to be on the perfect look. And you're trying to give yourself the most advantageous situation. That doesn't mean you're going to make the block. That doesn't mean that guy ain't going to blow your guy up. That doesn't mean your guy is going to get movement like he needs to. That doesn't mean that, you know, we're going to block the outside tech number properly. I mean, you know, but you give yourself the best chance to have a successful play. But you have something built in to that play that has a chance for big play potential if you get a certain look. So you're not always having to feel like you got to make a perfect call. You have answers built into the call, and there's no tempo team who doesn't do that. You have to have that, otherwise you can't play fast. And you have to equip them with answers and with the tools they need to stay on schedule and be successful. So there's a lot that goes into it. But yeah, I mean, then there's some calls that it's a run all the way. It's a run all the way, and we try to have answers so that everything is secured, so that we have a chance to have a positive play. But maybe that's to set something up, you know, later on. You just try to marry all those things the very best you can, and it's a lot of fun doing that. And we've been really good. But it's, you know, players make plays. Players make plays. As coaches, our job is to give them a chance to be successful. And give them answers. You know, we don't have answers for them, they ain't listening to you. Make sure we got answers, and give them the best chance to be successful. Give them an opportunity to make plays, and we've done that. I mean, we've done that. I mean, we've won a lot of games around here with a bunch of different players. So, you know, I think we're certainly not perfect, but I think we've week in and week out, for the most part, have done a pretty good job of giving our guys a chance to be successful. And when we don't, you know, we come back in, we own that, and we evaluate that, and we're like, that's coaching. Or maybe sometimes they were just better. You know, they had a better call than we had or whatever, and just try to get better each week.
Coach, you mentioned a little bit earlier that a Georgia Tech option-based offense is a little bit different than the ones you faced again. Just now being an ACC play, how much different is that going to be from the non-conference action and those new freshmen you've spoken of? How can they draw on those experiences to then prep them for conference play?
Well, it's different because you're playing an ACC team, and that's no offense to Georgia Southern or Furman, but I mean, they got some. It's Georgia Tech. They got good football players, really good football players that can match us in a lot of areas. So that's the biggest challenge. But I do think that having 3 games now under our belt, you see some of these freshmen getting better. And that's another thing that I want to see us play our best game, number one, and I want to see us tap into the experience that we had at A&M. You know, because I think I want that to show. That was not an easy game. And I mean, that was a major challenge for this team, and for them to go out there and handle the adversity and find a way to win, made them enough mistakes to lose 3 times, but still found a way to win. You know, I just want to see us use that experience in a positive way this week as we go on the road. Because, again, if we're going to win the division, we're going to have to win on the road. And we're going to have to play better than we did against A&M, for sure. Because conference play is a different deal. Different deal, man. Another level, whole nother level of intensity and passion, and just the margin gets much smaller as you jump into conference play. I don't think so. I mean, I think to be honest with you, probably the more nerves come in that first game because you hadn't played in a long time. I mean, regardless of who you're playing, I think that's usually where the majority of the nerves are, and then probably your first road game as a team every year. It just so happens this year our first road game was a non-conference game. I think our first. I mean, we've been on. Last year was it Louisville? Who we played last year? You don't know. You weren't here, Ross. Dang it. Tim used to always tell me that. You were the Redskins. So anyway, yeah, I think we opened up at Louisville. So that was kind of a conference, division, game day, all that stuff. Whereas this year it was game day all the way out to College State, but it wasn't a conference game. And so it was a very difficult challenge. And you lose those games, whereas you lose a conference game, especially a division game, you're it's like losing twice. You're in the hole because whoever that other team would have to lose twice, because they got the tiebreaker on you. So it's different from that, but I think from a nerve standpoint, where we are now, we're going in the second quarter. We've already played a quarter of football. Let's get better. That's behind us. We're playing football. We've all gotten in the rhythm of what we're doing now, and let's get better.
Thank you, Coach.
Okay, thank y'all.